So now we're going to talk about rods and reels for fishing in Alaska. This is my rod bag that I take all my rods and reels with when I'm traveling up there. I've taken this thing kind of all over the world and had it for years. It's super durable and I can pack a lot of stuff in it, a lot of rods and reels. So I love this case. This is kind of a Simms Bounty Hunter rod case. There's a bunch of great ones out there nowadays by Fish Pond and whatever, but being able to have all your rods and reels in one place is super helpful. So it just opens up. You can keep all your rods in here and pack a lot of rods. All your reels, I usually throw a bunch of other stuff in there too, like an extra pair of sunglasses, maybe some flies, extra fly lines, maybe some sunscreen, some books. But I kind of use this as my carry-on when traveling up there just because I know it's all with me. And when I do get up there, if everything else gets delayed, I at least have rods and reels to be able to get out on the water and hopefully get into some fish. As far as the rods and reels go up there that we do recommend, I like to keep it pretty simple. I would recommend having a rod or two for the trout species. And usually for the trout fishing scenarios, I would recommend a 6 or a 7 weight. A lot of anglers will actually choose to fish a 7 just because it tends to turn over bigger fly patterns a little bit easier. You can land fish a little bit quicker, a little bit easier to cast heavier fly patterns. So a lot of anglers will fish a 7 for the trout species. You can also fish a 6 if you have a favorite 6 weight you like. I really like fly rods for up there that have a fighting butt on them. If you do need to lean into a big trout a little bit more, you absolutely can with the help of a fighting butt. So definitely like rods with fighting butts on them. I actually have been fishing for a long time, kind of 9.5 foot rods. That little extra bit of length just helps you mend a little bit better, control the line a little bit more. Standard 9 foot rods work out great, but if you do have an opportunity to pick up a 9.5 footer, you won't be disappointed. So for trout rods, I usually recommend a 6 or a 7. I wouldn't go anything lighter than a 6. For most of the salmon species, for sockeyes, pinks, chums, and silvers, I always recommend an 8 weight. I think that's kind of the perfect weight rod for those salmon species. The only salmon that you might need a heavier rod would be kings early season. For kings, we usually recommend like a 9 or a 10 weight rod just because they're the largest of all 5 species. As far as your reels go, I would say about 90% of the fishing scenarios up there can be done on a weight forward floating line just to match the rod weight. If you do have an extra spool with a light sink tip or sinking line, something in the 200 to 300 grain window, not a bad idea to have. It's not absolutely necessary, but if you are fishing, streamers and want to get a little bit farther down in the water column, it's nice to have a sink tip or a sinking line with you just in case. But if you don't have one, don't worry about it. Like I said, a lot of the fishing scenarios up there can be covered just on floating lines for both trout and salmon fishing. So that's kind of a general rundown of rods and reels we recommend for fishing in Alaska. Obviously, it'll change a little bit here and there depending on where you're at, the time of the season, what species you're going for. You can always give us a call if you do have any specific questions. We're always around and available, and we'll definitely help you out in making sure you have the right gear you need for where you're going in Alaska. Find out more about fishing in Alaska at yellowdogflyfishing.com.